What if you crash landed on Earth that wasn't Earth, but was a little farther away than Jupiter?
Wonder with us. I'm Bethany,
I'm still Connor.
and this is Wonder with Us,
It is still a podcast.
talking about the original Twilight Zone.
Episode 20, Elegy,
Yeah.
which I think is how that's pronounced.
Yeah, you are correct. And if you're new, welcome. If you're from years past, welcome back to us talking about things that's going to be cut. Man, I'm so glad we don't have a blooper reel.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I probably won't cut that because it's fair to say, if you're new here, welcome. If you're not, you've probably been here for years and experienced 19 episodes.
Very sorry about that.
Kind of.
But we're moving on.
We're back. That's what matters. We were back last week as well with episode 19, which was
Purple Testament?
the Purple Testament. That's right. World War II soldier that can see when people are going to die. Today we were talking about Elegy, which if you didn't get... Today we're talking about Elegy, which if you didn't get it from the intro, which I'm sure you didn't because I didn't give you good information, what does IMDb say about this episode?
IMDb encapsulates this episode with 3 astronauts touch down on an asteroid where they discover a world of people that appear to be frozen in time. Confused, they theorize as to why everyone is motionless until a man springs to life and explains.
Are we okay with me just kind of butchering the format that we've had set up for 19 episodes in 4 years?
I'm rolling with it. It's okay.
Perfect. This was directed by Douglas Hayes, I think, 1919 through 1993. I'm not great at math, but that's old. Had a total of 45 directing credits to his name.
Yeah, and before I introduce the writer, I'm going to pop back and say that Elegy was originally aired on live TV February 19th, 1960. So that
We
is
should
where
just
we're
back that up.
at. It's fine. It's okay. I like this. This is freeform. The writer of this episode was not, in fact, Rod Serling, but rather Charles Beaumont, who had his writing career from 1929 to 1967. Also old, and I'm also bad at math. He had 40 writing credits in his career.
Edited by Joseph Gluck, which I know is a name we've seen so far, although I'm going to be honest, I don't remember a whole lot about him. Photography by George T. Clemens, because he just can't stay away.
We really needed to give credit to the people that don't get credit, like the art directors, George W. Davis and William Ferrari, not of car fame.
I don't have proof of that.
Also, the music was by a man of the coolest name ever, Van Cleef.
Oh boy, howdy. Your standard for names.
I think it's a cool name.
All right, how do you feel about Cecil Kellaway? Kellaway?
Kellaway.
Is that a cool name? How's that rank?
I like it.
Give that name a marble rating.
Solid 4.
Woof. Will name again.
I mean, Cecil kind of, in my brain, equates to like an herb that you cook with. That is what I hear. Which is not at all what this is, but that's the image that comes to mind. Anyway, that is neither here nor there.
Just makes me think of Sicily.
Okay, so it does have some merit. I think Italian spices, Sicily, it's fine.
Sicily in Italia?
It's a city in yes.
I almost made you say Italia. Tell me about Cecil.
He played the role of the phenomenal Jeremy Wickwire.
What a fantastic character.
We'll get there. He was born August 27th, 1890 in Cape Town, South Africa, and he died February 28th of 1973 in Tinseltown, Hollywood, California. He spent many years working as an actor, director, and author in the Australian live theater circuit, and then he decided to try his luck in Hollywood in 1930, very quickly became discouraged and moved back to Australia. He was given a part in Wuthering Heights production, 1939, and later was cast in The Luck of the Irish. No, I know what you're thinking, 90s kids, not the Disney Channel show.
No, I'm pretty sure he was in that one.
This one was 1948.
He definitely wasn't in that one.
However, that particular role for him caused him to forever be typecasted as a twinkly-eyed leprechaun. So he was in high demand for those roles.
Lucky.
And he had a total of 148 credits. 148 credits. He had a total of 148 credits.
Next, we have Jeff Morrow, played Kurt Myers in this episode. He was born January 13th, 1907 in Brooklyn, New York. Died December of 1993 in Canoga Park, California. Primarily a stage actor in the beginning of his career, started in film in the debut of The Robe in 1953. He's best known for This Island Earth in 1955, The Giant Claw 1957, and Kronos 1957. He did say in an interview that when filming The Giant Claw, the cast was told the special effects would be added in post. They were told to act horrified in shooting the scene on an empty set, so none of the cast saw the final cut until opening night. The audience was apparently in tears with laughter. It was supposed to be a sci-fi horror film, but the production ran out of money, and the quote-unquote terrifying creature was a puppet of a buzzard, because that's what they could afford.
That's awesome.
So the actors were understandably embarrassed and felt cheated out of what could have otherwise been a still bad movie.
Sure. But a higher quality bad movie.
A higher quality
than
bad
a buzzard
movie,
on a stick.
Mr. Morrow had 71 acting credits to his name.
I thank you for sharing that. I enjoyed that.
Thank the producers.
Don Dubbins played the role of Peter Kirby, and he was born June 28th, 1928 in New York City, and he died in August 1991 in Greenville, South Carolina. He was signed
place to go
by Columbia Pictures at the onset of his teen career, so he started early. He debuted in From Here to Eternity, 1953, and actually from there, the superstar at the time, James Cagney, took a liking to him, and from there, superstar James Cagney took a liking to him and cast him in These Wilder Years, 1956, and a couple more films after that. He was never a box office name, but his career spanned a number of TV films and series, giving him a total of 123 acting credits in his whole career.
Moving on to Kevin Hagen, who played Captain James Weber, my personal favorite character in this episode, was born April 3rd of 1928 in Chicago, Illinois, and died July 9th, 2005 in Grants Pass, just a mere taco throw from here. He is known for roles in The Big Three. Other than that, very little is known about his filmography, despite the fact that he's got 127 acting credits to his name.
Yeah. Nothing was listed, other than the fact that he had 127 acting credits, but none of them were listed in form.
Well, boy howdy, I'm gonna do some source checking on that. I'll come back to it. But that's what we know at the moment. And oh dear God, the font changed again.
I hate it.
Why does it want to make me so mad? I'm going to change this while I'm sitting here.
That's fine.
Because this is making me
We already did this. We probably should have opened with this, but we are joined in our makeshift studio by our wonderful rescue, Miss Callie Dew. So if you hear puppy sounds, that's what that is.
Callie, you want to hop on the mic, say hi to the people?
My guess is a no.
That's Callie, everybody.
Yeah.
Couple of interesting things about this episode. There is a town hall that we see a couple of times in the episode that was actually used in multiple Twilight Zone episodes, including The World's Worst 16mm Shrine from 1958. We already discussed that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was used as the house of the main character, as well as the episode Long Live Walter James in 1960. It was repurposed as a hallway for a college in that one. And it was apparently a part of the Army Hospital in the Purple Testament, which I recognized as soon as I read that, because it's quite obviously
That's the same.
the entry hall.
Yeah.
They almost didn't even redecorate.
Right.
It is wily.
Yep.
Budget restraints.
I mean, but they made it work.
They did, because had I not read that,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have put that together unless I watched those episodes
So we
back to
haven't,
back, which I did.
if I understand correctly, we haven't gotten to Long Live Walter James yet, right? That's
We haven't.
later.
Yeah, we haven't got to that one yet.
So
We
what
have
I can
obviously
say,
done the Purple Testament and 16mm Shrine.
the 16mm Shrine, which is by far the worst episode as
So
of
far.
yet. As of yet, we're not
Believe
there
me,
yet.
babe, there are worse.
It does not look like the same location as
No,
her house.
no,
Which I
not
think
at
had
all.
more to do with the camera angles.
So
'Cause,
there
the
is
staircase.
there's one scene, and it is in the entry hall of her house,
Mm-hmm.
where it looks very similar to how it's shot in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
At least I thought so. Although it doesn't look anything like how it was shot in the Purple Testament, which is odd because in the Purple Testament it does look similar to how it's shot in this episode.
But
Despite the
they're
fact
two distinct.
there are distinct differences that for whatever reason look similar in this episode that don't look similar to each other, which might just be that I read words on a page and my brain went, "Oh, yes, obviously."
That's a thing.
Actually, and that's entirely possible.
Yeah.
In the original short story for this episode, there was a car race.
A motionless car race. I think.
A motionless car race, obviously, because as we'll get to it, everything's motionless. As it was written by Charles Beaumont, they replaced that with a beauty pageant in the episode, which I don't know. Having not seen a scene with a motionless car race, I don't know which one. I don't know if it would have been better or worse than the beauty pageant. The beauty pageant scene is considered memorable.
Because it took so much.
There's so many people,
Actual people.
actual people just standing
Freeze
still,
frame.
trying so hard not to move and all failing miserably. But
That is the beauty of this episode, though.
that scene just didn't. I didn't really care about it.
Yeah.
It didn't have anything that interested me a whole lot, other than I was very confused by the winner of the beauty pageant until I got to the plot and they explain what's going on. At that point, it makes sense. But when you're watching the episode,
Yeah.
it is just
It
confusing.
It didn't pull at your heartstrings at all, though. That Peter was very sweet to her, and well, so in the scene, if you have not seen this episode, it's a beauty pageant, right? So they have these gorgeous model type women in the back, and they're standing in their poses, and then at the very front, holding the winning trophy, is this woman with Coke bottle glasses, her hair in a ponytail. She looks very different than the model type ladies in the back, and the character in this particular scene, I think it was Peter, I'm not sure on that,
It was Captain what's his butt
walked up to her
Weber.
and said, well, you're the most beautiful of them all, and we understand why you won.
I can see why they gave you the first prize, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. So something to that effect. And it was a very sweet moment. It was very short-lived, but it was a sweet moment.
It is a sweet moment, until he then yells in her face to talk to him and explain what's wrong with her.
What's going on?
It becomes very unsweet very fast.
Yeah, but I mean, also kudos to her for not blinking.
Kudos to her for not blinking, and kudos to Kevin Hagen for just shamelessly, fully admiring every woman on stage.
Oh, he checked them out.
It is
So apparent.
cringy to watch this man. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but all we do is talk about the dead on this show.
Okay.
So, I if it was written, he's a fantastic actor.
Sure.
If it wasn't written, holy shit.
Improv.
I have seen videos of dudes checking people out at the gym and being called out that are less cringy than this man walking across a stage of scantily clad women,
Slowly
just
doing the full
up and down full body look. It is unsettling. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh yeah, there was supposed to be a still
Emotionless car race versus the beauty pageant. I'm glad they went with the beauty pageant personally.
I think it should have been a wrestling match, but what the fuck do I know?
How would you even depict a car race?
Well,
Unless you
everything's
had the
motionless,
guys,
so
like-
I'm guessing it would have been a dude sitting in a car.
Right, but like not actively. They would have to depict so much with their facial expressions and their. I don't know. Are you like cheering?
It could be. I could argue the same thing, that in a beauty pageant there should be, I don't know, living people.
There were living people.
Nope. No, there were not.
I mean,
It was a room full of corpses.
outside of the story. They were in fact living people.
Those
on
corpses
stage.
were all moving.
Yeah, that's okay. Moving on.
Moving on.
Okay. We were talking about how every scene in this episode, after like the initial 5 minutes, is actual human people freeze framing, just standing completely still. And we know they're actual people because they're blinking. Because humans blink and you
Because
can't help that.
They fail at their
And-
only job of
and
standing still and
there
not
is
moving.
swaying motion. So, like in that beauty pageant scene, the women are wearing earrings. Their earrings are moving. The
Every
bottom
time-
of the skirts are swaying a little bit.
Every time somebody's holding a glass of liquid, you can see the
It's
liquid
shaking.
sloshing under its own weight, being extended out by a human arm that's not allowed to move.
Right. That being said, I really want to know if they actually inserted a few wax figures into the bunch, because a few of those eyes were just too shiny to be human, and I thought they were glass.
Agreed, but we also looked up the most waxy look. Like, if somebody had put a gun to my head and said, point out the one wax dummy in this episode, it'd have been the guy at the table,
Yep. The poker table.
at the poker table.
Yeah.
I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
That man looked
Fake.
fake.
Yeah.
Looked him up. It's a real ass dude.
He just has an unfortunate face.
And an unfortunate set of completely soulless eyes.
Yeah.
Like
The light hit him just right.
this dude saw some trauma at some point and died inside and then became an actor.
To sit motionless at a poker table.
What a career.
At least he had a winning hand. That's all I gotta say.
He had a winning hand, and frankly, he acted in a show that I'm now doing a podcast about, so I don't know why I'm talking shit.
Fair enough. There's also another scene where one of the guys, this is the other thing, is like we have the name of the captain, James Weber. Then we have Peter Kirby and Kurt Myers. Those are the three. Those are the three main guys that we see for the first half of this episode.
Yep. Mr. Wickwire comes in later.
Later. But after, like, the first somebody addressing Captain as Captain, there's not really any mention, I don't think, among the three of them when talking to each other who is who. So unless they're introducing themselves to the people within the scenes that they're walking through, I had a hard time keeping track of who was who.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
to be fair, anybody who fact checks this episode on who we say did what, there's a good 50-50 chance we got the name wrong.
Sure, and
Because
you have a
there's
lot of
just
time on your
so
hands.
little reference to any of the characters' names, with the exception of Wickwire,
Sure.
whose name is referenced like
Many
8 times
times
in the first scene that he talks.
in different variations.
Wickwire.
Wire wick.
So,
So the guy called Peter
we
goes
think.
to. Really?
Yes.
No.
Yes, really. I don't know that that was his name. Dude's name could have been Doug for all I know.
His character's Peter.
Okay.
Peter Kirby.
Okay. I thought that there
He
was the
just-
captain
he
that talked to
just
him.
Said the thing. One of the spacemen went to. They were
Oh, yeah,
walking.
these dudes are in space, by the way.
Yeah, they
I don't
were.
think we mentioned they
we-
land on this planet.
It starts out in the entryway of a spaceship. Ooh,
The
you have-
entryway / cockpit.
You have fun facts about that, but let me finish this really quick. One of the space guys goes to they're all three walking across this bridge, and they look over the side of the bridge and they see this guy fishing next to a pond. And so one of them runs down to speak to him like, "Hey, it's an actual person." And dude just tips over. Like full dead bug, cockroaches over. And there's a brief second where it flashes back up to the other two gentlemen on the bridge, and it is definitely a photograph.
It looks like a photograph that... It looks like somebody cut a frame
Yep.
out of an active reel
Yep.
that had been burned with a cigarette and then pasted it in
Yeah.
as though the camera had cut to them.
Right. It was cleverly done,
I would disagree with
but
that.
we knew it was a photograph. And then I'm just going to say one more time, because it was 90% of this episode, that the frozen people, despite the fact that they are human and they blink and they move, like the practical effects of having so many people in
So
different
impressive.
positions, in different rooms, not moving, was really, really well done for that time. Like,
Yeah,
or
for
any
what they were
time in
working
general.
with. Yeah, like I would wager anybody trying to pull that off, even today,
Mm-hmm.
not using special effects, just having a room full of people and telling them,
Freeze.
stand still, don't breathe, don't blink. We're going to shoot a 30-second clip 15 times until we get it right.
Right.
And you, madam in the back, I don't care that there's dirt in your eye, stop fucking blinking.
I want to say it was 6 times in the town hall scene. This one lady on the stairs, every time it was like the camera had panned slightly off of her, she would blink. Every time.
It's almost like she was trying to watch the camera out of her peripheral vision. And anytime it moved, she just assumed she wasn't in the shot anymore and tried to get all the blinks in then.
At one time, except that she was.
But she was still in frame. And I don't know if nobody caught it, or it was just the best take, or if it was just that film is fucking expensive, so they couldn't afford to reshoot it a 30-second time because Karen couldn't stop blinking.
Right.
It was very impressive. I have what I consider to be interesting information regarding this episode and some of the details within it. However, we're going to take a bathroom break and let you guys listen to a delightful ad about Anchor. Woof. Okay, couple of details about this episode that I take issue with. Given many of these things, I don't know whether or not the information was readily available. I don't know how much... I don't know what it would have taken in 1959 to find out how far Jupiter is from Earth. I imagine that's like a trip to the library, updating your mailing address so you can get a card,
Many, many, many books.
just being a blatant racist to somebody because it's
A roll-
1959.
A Rolodex. This episode was actually in the 60s. 1 year difference. When did the moon landing
Racism
happen?
died in 1960. Yeah, I forgot about that. The moon landing was in 69.
Okay, so they're 9 years
Nice.
before actually making it to the moon.
Either way, they mention that the planet they have landed on, for starters, has an exact oxygen level as Earth. I didn't bother to research whether or not the numbers they threw out were correct because I assumed they weren't.
They were also looking at a blank screen throwing out random numbers.
Yeah, it had bleeps and bloops and some lights and stuff, but
He was able to calculate the exact amount in about 3 seconds.
he was doing some advanced calculations on these bleeps and bloops.
And there was no computer. That was amazing.
They also mentioned that where they landed was 655 million miles from Earth, and therefore it was just insane. And also, they had 2 suns. According to my research, I'm not sure how I managed to sign out of my computer doing that. Let's try that again.
That was amazing.
655 million miles would put them just past Jupiter.
Hence why you've been referencing Jupiter. Okay, that makes sense.
Another beef I have with this episode is they split the party. Shouldn't
Which
do
you
that.
shouldn't do ever.
Couple of details. One being there is mention of a war that takes place in 1984, functionally destroying humanity on Earth. It takes 20 years to rebuild, putting it at the year 2004, but they left Earth in 2185 before landing on this 2-sunned Earth Alderaan planet with sleepy people.
Something doesn't quite add up.
I'm having trouble with that. The planet, as it is, apparently opened up its doors in 1973, just
Before
prior
the war.
to the war that ended humanity.
Convenient. To be fair, it didn't say it ended humanity, though, right?
No, they
Rather than
mention
just
they don't actually
destroying.
mention what exactly happened. Just that like shit got fucked up.
So you're probably global warming.
So they do mention the atom bombs were dropped, and as we all know,
Atomic war.
2 atom bombs will destroy an entire planet. So they opened the doors in 1973, which was 9 years, math, before the War of All Wars, which was 20 years before they were able to rebuild civilization, which was 140 something years before this space mission that these 3 are on left Earth, got lost in space, ran out of fuel like a chump, and landed on a
Convenient asteroid.
very convenient Earth-esque asteroid. I'm not a fiction writer. I don't know that I could do better. I could do better. But I don't like it. The details bother me, and some of the details I'm not even sure why they bother me.
It's too many holes in the story, but I think this is also coming from the perspective of the fact that we are consumers in a modern age of fiction, of various types of fiction. We have come to expect what good fiction is, whereas in time that this was actually aired on TV, it was still black and white TV with, handmade special effects and all of that. So I don't think they were going to put too much stock in the fact that
No,
the
there's a
story
good
is what
chance.
it is, because they were just amazed to see it on the magic box.
So you may be right. I don't know when the magic box came into invention. I don't like to think. I guess let me just do some very fact-based estimating here. In the TV show, that 70s show, they get a Betamax. They've already got a TV.
This is a decade prior.
But there's an episode of that 70s show when the kids are either fairly young or pre-being born that one of the people, Red or Bob, gets a TV, and it's a huge deal. Those teenagers are supposed to be in their early to mid-teens, which would put that got my new TV sometime around the 60s. So maybe the magic box was new and still full of demons that were trying to melt our brains. Either way, I don't reckon your average house family in 1960 was sitting around researching the accuracy of the facts on the Twilight Zone like a bunch of twats with a podcast.
Well, I
So,
mean, you would have to go back to the library and again the books and the Rolodex
and the racism, yeah.
thing for
We're-
that
we're
time
bad people.
frame. In order for them to research things, they would have to go a bit
It
step
would
further than
be-
we do now.
Yeah, they couldn't pull out the Chromebook, that's for sure. One of my favorite parts about this episode, eternifying fluid.
Yes.
Is it poison? Is it embalming fluid? Is it Mountain Dew? We
It's
don't
a cocktail
know.
of all three
We just know that it's called eternifying fluid.
that they drank in port glasses, which made me so happy.
They drank a liquid given to them by a strange man that wasn't frozen on a planet full of frozen people. They deserved what they got.
Okay.
If
to-
the caramel apple says sponsored by Gillette, don't eat it. There's a razor in it.
Can I piggyback on that?
The razor blade?
No. The eternifying fluid
Lay it on me.
and the scene that follows that. So they drink it, and the guy is talking and informing them that they are in a cemetery and giving out all the facts and things that with the dates that Connor has just mentioned, and they start to kind of deflate. And
Quickly.
one of the guys, because again, I don't know any of their names and who they are.
Bob. We'll say Bob.
I like that. Bob, when upon discovering that the eternifying fluid is already working its magic in their veins, he
Which it-
shatters the glass in his hand. He just chucks it against the wall and looks around the room and says, "I told you not to trust him." He said nothing of the sort, ladies and
At
gentlemen.
no point does he say not to trust Mr. Wickwire.
But he is going off the rocker. "I told you not to trust him. I told you." Like, sorry, no, you didn't, sir.
No.
And you're all
no.
gonna be eternified.
Nah, Bob, you done fucked up.
So that was good.
Oh, very,
Just
very
the
fun.
drama of it all. That is what has really won my heart over in every episode, even the bad ones of this show, is the fact that the high level of over dramatized acting.
Almost soap opera-esque
And I
at
was-
times.
Like, my brain always goes back to any one of these people could easily audition to be like Disney princess falling on the nearest object to sob, because it is that level.
Oh, man. So the fall they take
Yeah.
after drinking the
Ye-
eternifying fluid,
yes.
our boy Bob throws the glass against the floor/wall. I think it actually breaks on the carpet, which is fucking stupid. But he throws this and then collapses in a way that I would expect like a high school production of Star Battles
Yeah.
because of trademark issues.
Yeah. Or,
Like-
or also maybe the Help I've Fallen Can't Get Up
Yeah, no.
pendants.
Okay, so if you combine high school production of Lightsaber Kid
Yeah.
with the Help I've Fallen and I Can't Get Up old people pendant, and you throw into that just a tiny bit of I've Got the Vapors,
Yeah.
you have this fall.
This whole scene.
Like, it is so delightfully, confusingly dramatic. And his fall is followed by what I would call an even better fall, which is one of his comrades leans down to check on him and then suddenly doesn't have the strength to stay on his own feet. So he
He has
lands
the
on his
vapors.
knees with his vapors. One of his knees lands across the back of the leg of the man that just took the vapor fall. You then see him notice that he has fallen on this other actor
Yeah.
and quickly move his leg so that he may take a more
Dramatic.
fall. And then both of them lay on the ground using more effort than it would take to just stand up to
Trying to
look
hold himself up.
in the eyes of Mr. Wickwire. While the third guy, he just sits on the couch. the eternifying fluid's bad. So he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to sit on the
I'm
couch.
just gonna be here.
Y'all fall on the floor. I'm going to be right here on this couch. It's so bad.
It's also,
And I love
there's-
it.
There's also a really sad moment in that scene, as dramatic and delightful as it is when one of the guys just looks at him from the ground in this very awkward position that he has found himself in. Looks at Mr. Wickwire and says, "Why? But why?"
Was it we meant you no harm?
Yeah, yeah. We didn't do anything to you. We meant you no harm. Why would you do this to us? Which brings about my favorite line in this entire episode.
So he says we mention no harm, asks why. It's very dramatic, very intense. Mr. Wickwire's response is, because you're here, and you're men. And while there are men,
There can be no peace.
it hits like a crossbow bolt to the gut, guys. It's
So good.
And it immediately follows just terrible, terrible acting, which makes it better.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it feel better. Hey, Callie, I don't need you to lay on my laptop. I'm using that. Thank you. That is subsequently also my favorite line. Huffy much about this episode. About this episode? From this episode.
Yeah.
My favorite line from this episode.
Could be relevant too, that it was about this episode.
It very much was about this episode, which brings us to general takeaway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I think we can agree the general takeaway is they are suggesting that while there is humans,
There can be no
peace
peace.
cannot be achieved.
Not a thing that can happen.
Which they said in 1960, just proving that they had no idea what they were talking about. It's very peaceful. I don't know what they're talking about.
No, we're good now. We're all good. And also maybe eternifying fluid should be marketed. I'm just,
Yeah, no, like the commercial ideas for eternifying fluid. If it's not already trademarked, and I hope it's not, I'm not going to trademark it. I have no interest in trademarking eternifying fluid, but what I do have an interest in is making commercials for eternifying fluid,
Yeah.
and then, I don't know, putting them in the ad break.
Sure.
I don't know.
I like this. I like this idea. Can we do it?
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
Let's do it.
There's probably no legal recourse to that.
I mean, we'll actually look into the legality of that and find out. 'Cause
I
I'd like
will
to
do no such thing. Give it a marble rating.
I like the research, so I'll do the thing. Marble rating for this episode. It is currently high on my list. It is not, I would say, my favorite so far, but it is up there. I'm going to give this one, probably a 4. Again, I think I did 4 last time.
I think we both gave the Purple Testament a 4. I'm gonna give this one a 3
Okay. Why?
because it's an episode of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. It's a fine episode. It feels short. Like,
Sure.
it feels very short. It feels like, excuse me, it almost feels like they had an idea of what they wanted to do and they ran out of time.
Would you say that, like, time-wise, the length of the episode's pretty on par for the rest of them?
Yeah, I don't think it's significantly shorter than any other episode. I think it feels shorter because there's a whole lot of build up with no resolution until the
The very last.
3-4
second of the
minutes
thing.
of the episode, and then all of that resolution is just kind of dumped on your head in one moment. And it's, like I said, it's a fine episode. It feels like the Green Lantern starring Brian Reynolds. Like, yes, there was potential there, and yes, you can't blame the actors, and yes, you can't entirely blame the writers, which brings up the question, who do you blame? Because somebody needs to be blamed, because this potential was wasted.
Fair.
And CGI Green Lantern suits should be against the fucking law. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Fair enough.
So this one gets a total of 7.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Out of 10. Out
Yeah,
of
yeah, I think
possible 10.
I think that's fair. I think that's. honestly, I think that's more than fair.
Hey, what are we watching next week?
Next week is Mirror Image. It is among my favorite episodes from season 1. We are going to follow Millicent Barnes,
Good name.
indeed, as she has a mental breakdown in a bus station.
Fun.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's a good episode. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, feel free, or just shut up, I don't care. I believe it is the first episode of The Twilight Zone that was written by a female.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Rod actually mentions at the end of Elegy.
Did I leave the room?
You may have left the room.
I don't remember that.
At the end of Elegy, we get a shot of Rod standing in front of a white background, and he mentions that it has been claimed that he is not a writer for women, that he is not
least
capable
he,
of writing good for women.
At least he can own up to that fact.
Yeah, no, he's
Props for
ahead
that.
of his time for sure.
Sure.
And then he mentions that the next episode was written by a woman for women. And the for women part, I don't entirely understand, although it's been a while since I've seen the episode. I believe it was the first episode written by a woman, and it is among my favorites of season 1.
All right.
It's a great episode.
I'm
that's
looking forward to it.
Full of Twilight Zone-y twists and turns.
I'm here for the twists and turns and for the drama.
There is an excessive amount of drama in Mirror Image.
Excellent.
You will not be disappointed. There's also baggage.
Literal or metaphorical?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tune in next week, I guess, and we'll unpack that baggage.
Are we promising another episode next week?
Yeah.
Fuck, you gotta stop making this promise. I'm never gonna keep up.
No, because it means we're going to do it.
Maybe.
We're going to do it.
Or it means people are gonna be very confused why we said we'll see you next week, and it's been 6 years since they heard from us.
Hey, we're on a good roll here, okay?
Yeah, we're killing it.
A good roll of 2. Let's keep it going.
I have been Connor.
Still Bethany.
Still wander with us.
Thanks for listening.